Hi guys, Martial Arts Militia here. My name is Matthew, and today's video is going to be a range report on the Colt Trooper. Now you guys have seen this gun before in old videos, and I just finally now got around to shooting it. As you know, we first did the Henry Big Boy revolver just because I wanted to see if I would sell that and get their new Deadeye, which is basically the exact same gun except it has adjustable sights. And with the Henry Big Boy revolver, we did use a variety of old ammunition, but regardless, it still fired it all just fine, no problem. I think the amount was 218. This time around, I bought some new ammo. It was a MagTech 158 hollow points. I got 1,000 rounds and I brought 250 just to run through this gun here. As usual, I shot the same distance, starting at 3 yards to make the hole really big, push it back to 5. If it hasn't gotten too much worse shots, I'll push it out to 7 and push it out to 10 if it's still not getting too bad. As far as the functioning of the gun, everything was perfect. It fired all rounds, no issues at all. I did notice with the MagTech that some of the bullets, when they fired, some had more recoil than others. If there was a flash, it tended to kick back more. If there was no flash, it was kind of your standard pressure. So I don't know what that says about the quality control of MagTech for 158 grain hollow points, but I did find it a little odd. I think in a future range report, I'll still do the Colt King Cobra, the new one, not the old one, just to kind of see, we can test if that inconsistent quality control is going on with MagTech, and then of course if I like the King Cobra better. Now between this one and the Henry Big Boy revolver, I did notice that the recoil was a little bit more. Whereas the Big Boy revolver, it wasn't that bad, or I didn't notice it. Looking online, it seemed like they both have the same weight, so it's not really a weight issue. It might be just the way it's designed. For example, I know the Henry Big Boy revolver kind of has this funny looking grip. It's a weird shape. It's not kind of like what you'd expect on an old gun like this. Maybe that's why the recoil is a lot less in the Big Boy revolver, where it seems to be a little more noticeable here. The gun heated up really quickly. That's another thing that I noticed with the Henry Big Boy revolver. It didn't heat up as quick. Obviously it was different ammunition, but it didn't heat up very much. This one heated up very quickly, and I had to use my FDT gloves to keep from burning myself. As far as the speed loaders go, it works well with the HKS and the 5-star K-frame size speed loaders. When it came to the Safariland, it seemed to get stuck. Something about it gets stuck and it's really difficult to get it out. So that's another con for the Safariland, because I know the HKS and the 5-star works no problem with Henry Big Boy revolver, and it has no problem here. So Safariland's having a little bit of its work cut out for it. Now, even though I brought 250 rounds, I ended up only shooting 200, and the reason why was because I was getting tired. I was getting tired, and I felt like I felt like the last 50 shots would have been good. There's no reason to waste the ammunition. But yes, I bought 250, but I ended up not really shooting all of it, only up to 200. Now for the target, this is the result of that. So a little bit low left, whatever, that seems to be my normal. I shot it from 3 yards, it looked fine. Went back to 5 yards, looked okay. Went to 7, let me see. 7 yards, and then I did 10 yards, but then you see it start to open up over here on the outside, so I went back to 7 yards and it never changed again. Now I had 8 shots left and I decided to put them all on the head. So you can see I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't know where the last 2 went. I mean, of course I do, they went to the same hole. Whatever. Anyways, I don't know where the last 2 bullets went, but the last 8 shots were on the head. Again, pretty much low left, so I guess that's just my normal. And yeah, that's how that one went. So, I do like the gun. In terms of comfortability, I think the Henry Big Boy revolver is more comfortable. So if you're deciding between an old Colt Trooper or a Big Boy revolver, I think the Big Boy revolver is more comfortable with the recoil. you know, because I felt like with the Henry Big Boy revolver, maybe not with this ammunition, but I could have gone like more than 218 rounds, you know, and I wasn't tired. I was kind of already tired here. But like I said, we don't know if that's because of the ammunition, the MagTech 158 grain hollow point. We'll find a little bit more with the Colt King Cobra, the new one. I will say that the Colt King Cobra new is smaller than the old King Cobra. So if anything, I would expect more recoil and probably not shooting more than 200 like I could here, but we'll still test it. Now the next range report, as I talked about in my last video, I want to go back to the NAA Guardian. And the reason why I want to go back to that is because I understand that it went back to the factory twice to get its recoil spring fixed because it broke twice, and that was all with dry fires. I don't remember the amount, it might have been 3,000, something like that, but basically with a snap cap it's going to break. And the first time North American Arms didn't admit it. The second time they did admit that the recoil spring was brittle, just because I sent it back to them back to back right away, and the engineer admitted yes, the recoil spring is brittle, so it's not meant to handle dry fires in an extended amount of time. Although I will say the dry fires helped the trigger, so it did make the North American Arms trigger better, but not at the cost of having a broken spring, having to send it back. Now, if you're a very technical engineer person, people on the internet have said it's easy to fix, so I probably could just learn to do that myself. You don't have to send it back to North American Arms every single time, but I'm too busy for that. But basically the reason why give the gun another chance. So with the Henry Big Boy revolver, if you remember that one, the hammer screw would unscrew itself if you dry fire with snap caps, about, I don't remember, 300 dry fires, something like that. It would just constantly unscrew itself. You had to rescrew it again. And so my assumption when I went to the range was that it's going to unscrew even faster. But even after 218 rounds, it didn't unscrew at all. It was just as tight as before, which is weird. It makes no sense, right? Also, it's a fair chance, right? I could have just not fired it and said, well, the gun is garbage. But obviously I gave it a fair shot, went to the range. Hey, as long as you shoot real bullets in this one anyways, it's not going to unscrew itself. If you practice dry firing to make the trigger better, which it does make the trigger better, you have to rescrew it every time, right? It makes no sense, but that's what it was. So in this case, well, why did I dismiss the Guardian if I didn't actually go through 3,000 rounds? That's a bit much, but yes, the assumption would be, well, it can't handle dry fires, it can't handle live fire, which could be true. It could also not be true. I have to actually test it out. I know we took it to the range after having to go back to the factory twice for new recoil springs, and I think it did fine. I don't think it was an issue. It was okay. I just didn't have any faith that it would last any longer. So for this range report, we're going to always come back to the Guardian every other range report just to put probably 300 rounds, 250 rounds through it, just to kind of see, you know, when is it going to break under live fire? We know it breaks around 3,000 with no dry fires with snap cap. So when's it going to break under live fire? And again, that's only example of one. If I buy another North American Arms Guardian, we never have that issue at all. You guys know I talked about the Monday, Fridays, and Wednesdays. I just want to know which day my North American Arms Guardian was made. So that's going to be the next range report. I'm going to try the Guardian, remember how many bullets I shot last time, add it up, see if we can get to 3,000 without breaking. And if it does, then I would suggest don't dry fire it, fire live ammunition, and the trigger will get better on its own. That would be kind of my best assumption there. So that's what's going to go on for the next range report. I'm going to go ahead and roll the footage for the Colt Trooper. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and of course, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time, okay? Bye now.
Martial arts! Martial arts, go!